what defines financial success? Depends on who you ask. According to a new survey from financial service company Empower, Gen Z Americans believes it takes a salary of $588,000 to be considered financially successful.
First of all, that's a foolish number. That's an absolutely insane number. So look, okay, wait, back up. I want y'all to go in the comments. Go in the comments right now and tell me, do y'all think these numbers are accurate? Like, do you think this is a good assessment of the current financial landscape of the United States of America, that Gen Z thinks that $588,000 a year, I'm pretty sure this is a year, yes, this is an annual salary. Gen Z thinks that $588,000 a year is the number that makes you financially successful. Now, this is going to be a relatively shorter clip that we're breaking down, because they really don't add any value into the conversation after this. They really don't do anything to add any more context. I was hoping that they would define what financially successful looks like. If you walk up and down the street and ask people, just ask randoms, like, what does financial success look like? What is financially successful? Some people are going to give you a variant of wealthy, and some people are going to say just surviving, right? The overwhelming majority of people are underwater in the United States, which makes it crazy that they have the average right here, meaning the average American, right, between all of the generations living right now, the average American believes that the number is $270,000. You mean that same average American that doesn't have $1,000 in their bank account, that can't comfortably cover $1,000 emergency if it was to happen to him tomorrow? That same average American that carries about $60,000 worth of debt, like individually carries about $60,000 worth of debt? You mean that same average American whose combined household income is just under $60,000 a year? That same average American believes that $270,000 is needed to be financially successful? Now, one thing that one of the ladies in this clip does say, I'm not going to play it because it's adding unnecessary link to the video. One thing that one of them does say is that statistically, this is not attainable for the average American, because roughly $200,000 is the number for the top 10% that breaks you into the top 10% of earners within the United States of America. So if $200,000 a year is the threshold that you have to break through to get into the top 10% of earners within the United States, you mean to tell me that the average American is saying we have to go even further past that to get to $270,000 to be considered financially successful? What this is, and first of all, that Gen Z number, before I even move on, that Gen Z number I believe is skewed, because Gen Z, I believe they probably asked a whole bunch of younger Gen Zs, which is why this is such an unrealistic, outlier number. You got to keep in mind, the oldest Gen Z was born in, I believe, 1995, and the youngest Gen Z was born in 2012. I'm 24. I was born in 2000, so I'm a little bit on the older end of my generation. But that's a whole lot of people who have not really lived adult life yet. I just started living adult life for real, having to pay bills and cover my own expenses. I just got out of college for real. You know what I'm saying? I say that to say this number is probably skewed. I don't take this poll or this study seriously, right? I believe it's completely unrealistic. But I do believe that average American number being $270,000, I do believe that what that's a product of is social media and just the current landscape of the world, being that, we have infinite access to what we believe is insight into other people's lives. Now, let social media tell a story. Everybody is way further ahead of you financially. Everybody's balling. Everybody's always going on trips. Everybody always has the nicest cars, the nicest bags, the nicest jewelry. Everybody's relationship is perfect and successful. Every woman has a man that provides for them and all of this other stuff. Listen, you don't know what people are hiding. People only generally, people have a tendency to only want to showcase their highlight reel. People don't want to give you full insight into what their day-to-day life looks like. And the reality is that a majority of people going on these trips, they might be on a cruise, but they financing a cruise, or they using back pay or afterpay to try to pay for the cruise in monthly installments because they just don't have the money for it. The vast majority of people that you see driving, a $60,000, $70,000 vehicle. I just did a video last week or earlier this week, whenever I did that video, about the car market getting ready to crash. And the first thing I asked in that video is, being that we have so many trucks sitting on lots, so many, Ford F-150s and Ram 1500s sitting on these lots that cost, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000. Being that a newer Toyota Tacoma, which is supposed to be the smaller work truck, Tacomas are going for $45,000 to $50,000 a year. Being that we have these vehicles that are slowly increasing in price, however, we know our reference numbers that I said towards the beginning of the video, which is that the average American doesn't have $1,000 in their bank account, can't comfortably cover a $1,000 emergency if it were to happen to him tomorrow, carries about $60,000 worth of debt. An average combined household income, not just one individual, combined household income is just under $60,000. Being that this is the current landscape, who is affording these vehicles, right? They're not. Nobody actually is affording these vehicles. People are getting into these higher priced vehicles, trying to pursue an image, trying to present an image of luxury to other people, but behind closed doors, they're struggling to keep up with those payments. They didn't factor in their insurance into their budget. They didn't factor in the total cost of owning the vehicle into their budget. They didn't think about what was going to happen if they caught a flat and they needed to go buy a new tire. They didn't think about what was going to happen if a rock hit their windshield and cracked the entire thing, and now they need to go get a new windshield. They didn't think about what might happen if they have an oil or a transmission fluid leak, and now they have to go spend $800-900 to go get this fixed, when just yesterday they wasn't necessarily expecting that expense would come up. But again, they didn't factor it into their budget. So I say all of this to say, we gotta stop. Like at what point do we stop buying into the hype from social media? At what point do we keep it on the forefront of our minds that 70% of Americans don't even have $1,000 in their savings account? At what point do we start to take some personal accountability for the fact that, for a lack of better terms, we allowed ourselves to be bamboozled? So what we're looking at, to paint a holistic picture of the United States of America right now, what we're looking at is the average American is dead broke, carrying a whole bunch of debt. The majority of debt, y'all have to admit, the majority of debt is a choice. The only debt that's really not a choice, that's unavoidable, is medical debt. The average American is flat broke, doesn't have $1,000 in their bank account, carrying about $60,000 worth of debt, but they believe that $270,000 is the number to be considered financially successful. And then there's another factor that we're about to talk about, which is that the people who do hit that financial success, now we're starting to move into a climate within the United States that those people are almost being demonized and almost always assumed that if they did hit that financial success number, the only way that they did it was, by slighting somebody, or by walking over somebody, or by doing something unethical. So it's a paradox almost. Everybody wants to be financially successful, or so they claim they want to be financially successful. But if you actually do get out and take the proper steps to become financially successful, you then become a target for hatred. The point that I'm making is that by society standards, the wealthy are bad, but being broke is also bad. Everybody that's broke says they want to be wealthy, but once they become wealthy, everybody that is still broke hates them for it. So let me know what y'all think about this down in the comments below. This was probably a little bit of a shorter tape because we didn't have that much to break down in the video, but let me know what y'all think about this in the comments. I respond to every single comment because I genuinely want to have a conversation with you guys about this.